Now I'd like to show you some different ways that you can design your navigation. First of all, you'll want to design your navigation before you create the subsequent pages because you want the navigation to look exactly the same on every page. If you create the navigation and then change it later, you'll have to go into every page and change it. You can do that, but it's just best to try to do as much as you can in this first page, and then when you save it as the other names like hobbies.html or links.html, all the navigation is already set up for you. The easiest way to kind of make a more logical, more spaced out navigation than what we have is just putting a space and then this item that's above the slash below the delete key. It's just sort of a vertical line and another space. The browser is only going to recognize one space, so no matter how many spaces you put between this and the next element, it's only going to recognize one. It's a browser convention. So let's put one in between each of these. After the closing A for hobbies, I'm going to put a space. The vertical line, there's a space after that. And we don't need to put one at the end. So let's save this. And let's go back to the home page and see what that looks like. So that spaces it out a little further. But perhaps that's not designed well enough for many of you. So let's take out those lines. And let's put this information in a list instead. So we can get rid of the P, and we're going to use an unordered list because we want bullets. We don't want to have numbers. And we'll make it an unordered list. And I'm just going to do some spacing here so that this will make sense as we work with each one of these items. I'm going to put each A on a different line so it'll look more like a list. And then each one of these elements is going to be a list item. Oops. And you open and close the list item with an LI. And we'll just do that for each one. So there are 3 list items. And the last one, so if we save this and refresh the page, we'll actually see these on top of each other with bullets. And so some people like this vertical navigation style. Notice that I have the navigation near the top of the page to the left. This is a very common way to do navigation because it's the first place that users look. It's a little bit more effective than having things on the right or putting things on the bottom, particularly if your page has to scroll very far. The last way that I'm going to show you to do navigation is through the use of a table. It's a little bit more complicated in terms of the code, but you might be able to get some different spacing options. So instead of UL, we're going to use table. I'm just going to change these to table, opening and closing table. And then instead of list items, we're going to first of all put a table row, TR, surrounding all these because we want them to be in one row, going across from left to right. And then each item, instead of being an LI, is a TD. So I'm going to open and close TDs around each one. And that TD stands for table data. That's what goes in each of the cells in the table. And then once we see what the table looks like, there are some different options that we can use to style the table to a particular width or a particular alignment. So let's save this and refresh the page. Now you can see it going across like it did before, but first let's give the table a width. We want the table to be a little bit wider, so we'll say 300, and that's in pixels. You'll become familiar with the size of pixels as we go throughout the semester. Notice that these are spacing out a little bit now. We could actually see the border of the table if we say border equal and give it a pixel size of 1. And you can actually see the lines around the border of the table. Sometimes it's appropriate to have a 0 border, other times it's appropriate to actually see the border. And then if you want to do things within each of the cells, you can do different alignments. You can actually align the table itself so it moves over to the center. There are a variety of things that you can do once you start working with tables. So those are 3 different methods that you can use to make your navigation, for now, look better and be more consistent on your pages.